In America, we have always valorized the idea of the strong, stoic individual who can lead the people. It's a cliche about us the world over. John Wayne exemplifies this American archetype, but we find it still today in the lifting up of individuals as heroic for their solitary work. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, even Bill Gates are all seen as representing this individualistic ideal. But one of the clearest lessons of this pandemic so far is that individualism has severe limitations, and we must move beyond them. Luckily, we have the Torah, which has already identified this issue. In our weekly Torah portion, Moses learns this very lesson. He starts his role as leader of the Israelite nation by personally adjudicating every issue, even the most minor, that arises. Shortly after he begins, his father-in-law comes for a visit. A priest and leader himself, Yitro, for whom the portion is named, tells Moses that what he's doing is completely wrong-headed. When he sees Moses doing all of this work on his own, he says to Moses, "Lo tov hadavar asher ata oseh." It is not good, this thing that you are doing. This may seem like a very basic statement, but hiding within it is a great secret, and one we Americans need to learn. Lo tov, not good, is actually a pretty rare phrase in the Torah. It is used only here and one other place. When God sees Adam alone in the garden and says, "Lo tov heyot ha'adam levado, e'aseh lo ezer kenegdo." It is not good for the human to be alone. I shall make for him an ezer kenegdo, a helper over against him. These two instances are clearly related. In both, one individual man is initially given to rule alone. In the instance in Genesis, God's immediate response is to create the animal kingdom and then Eve, a human counterpart. In the instance in Exodus, Yitro gives Moses a structure for sharing his authority, taking Moses' role as intermediary between God and the people as only a piece of a larger system. Ovadia ben Yaakov Sforno, a 15th century Italian rabbi, picks up on this in an oblique way. He wrote long ago, "An Ezer Kenegdo is a helpmate who will be equal to Adam, another reflection of the divine image. This is essential for him if he is to know what precisely his needs are, and so that he can meet them in time. The reason why the Torah added the word Kenegdo is that whenever one confronts someone of equal power, moral or ethical weight, such a confrontation is termed neged, over and against. It is a head-on collision of will. It is in this sense that we have to understand such statements as Moshe shekol keneged kol Yisrael, a line from earlier in Exodus from last week where it says Moses' voice was over and against, keneged, the entire people of Israel. The phrase lo tov that occurs with both Adam and Moses guides us here as well. Adam needed a reflection of the divine image, which was found in the creatures around him and his female counterpart, and Moses needed a reflection of the divine image, which was found in the people of Israel. Only by seeing each as an equal to them, as a reflection of the divine image, were they able to function correctly, or tov, in their capacities. But we can also take from this that the same is true in the opposite direction. Eve needed an Ezer Kenegdo in Adam, and the rest of creation did as well. And Israel needed an Ezer Kenegdo in Moses. It's a mutual relationship, one in which all parties necessitate the connection in order to be tov, good, rather than lo tov, not good. This way of encountering the world and those around us is going to be all the more important as we today continue into our newly altered future. Having spent time apart from our normal structures, we have the opportunity to reflect on how those structures function. How do we manage our individualism in relation to others as their kenegdo? Yitro's advice to Moses helps us here as well. Yitro goes on to say, Navol tibol gam ata, gam ha'am hazeh asher imach, ki chaved mimcha hadavar lo tuchal asohu levarcha. Yitro says to Moses, you will surely wear yourself out, and these people as well. For the task is too kaved for you. You cannot do it alone. The word kaved is usually translated as heavy in this instance, but it's more nuanced than that. It is the Hebrew root used for how one must treat one's parents. It's the same root used for Pharaoh's stubborn response to Moses. It is used by God to describe what God gains by publicly freeing the Israelites from Egypt. It is used both biblically and rabbinically to refer to God's presence in our reality. The word is often translated as honor or glory, but I believe this to be incorrect. Instead, I would suggest gravity or gravitas. It holds the same sense of weightiness while also referring to an individual's responsibility. It connotes seriousness as well as authority. It connotes power and presence. But most importantly, in our present day, it evokes the idea of interconnectedness. Gravity is that mysterious force which requires all things to move in relation to one another. Our Torah is teaching us something very important. We cannot give ourselves too much gravity. Not as individuals, as Moses had mistakenly done, not as a species or a gender, as God's creation of the animals and Eve in response to Adam's own aloneness makes clear. We cannot give ourselves too much kavod. We must remember that it is not good and that the real goal is for us to be in relationship, to be keneged each other and the world, honoring each piece with its own gravity as part of the divine image. This mutuality is the way in which our own gravity and the gravity of those we stand keneged can meet. When we, each of us, maintain that it is lo tov to be alone, and instead follow the guidance of God and Yitro, we stand in mutual relation to each other and the world. We hold an awareness of our gravity so that it doesn't become too much to bear, so that it doesn't wear us and others out, but instead stands in harmonious relation to the gravity of others. As we live in altered existence in which our ability to connect with others directly is often stymied, and in which we see laid bare the ways in which we are fully reliant upon each other and our environment, may each of us remember that it is lo tov to go it alone. We must remember that individualism should not be held up as an ideal in and of itself, but instead used as a way to understand our mutual reliance upon each other and the world around us. May we remember what is tov, what is good, shevet achim gam yachad, dwelling together as one. Shabbat shalom.